So, you ever notice how in this day and age, it seems like America's elite, our politicians, our billionaires, the people who are sitting on the top with pretty much everything they could ever want and more. They have more money that they even know what to do with. They could spend it over in 8 to 10 lifetimes. But, here they are. They're trying to act like the past never existed. You know what I mean? Like, they're trying to act like we all just hallucinated all of this. Like, we hallucinated the country we grew up in because I swear, from my recollection, from my memory, the people in power that are running essentially the biggest gaslighting campaign in history, right, um, are doing so with a straight face. They're lying to your face. They're gaslighting you to your face. They're telling you, they want you to believe that our parents never owned a home. Nobody ever owned a home, right? Our parents never owned a home. We never owned, our parents never owned a home. Our parents never owned a home. No. It wasn't like that back then. Nobody ever nobody had their own apartments. Nobody rented their own apartments. Nobody had good paying jobs. Nobody had benefits. Nobody had pensions, right? No, none of that ever existed, right? Nobody ever had a stable job. Nobody ever raised a family on one income. Yeah, that didn't exist. There was no manufacturing jobs back then. You could never raise a family on just one income. There were no pensions. There was nothing like that. This is what I mean while that I was saying that the rich elite are trying to gaslight you into believing that this never existed. The so-called American dream existed because it did. It did exist in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. It did exist, right? And they're trying to gaslight you in how America, it pretty much was never. You could never support yourself on one income, or you could never. They're basically trying to say that America was never as good as you remember it, and that's bullshit. That's bullshit. They're trying to tell you that nobody ever bought a car without going into debt, for 7, 8 years, right? Which now the payments could be up to 10 years right now. But no, according to them, the kind of world that we once knew, right, never existed. And they say it like we're crazy for remember. They say it just like a narcissistic parent would. They gaslight you into believing that you're wrong, that it wasn't like that. That there must be some kind of misunderstanding. You're not understanding right because the world was never like that. But you hear it, right? You hear it in politicians' speeches. You hear it in the media. In these so-called experts on the internet, right? You hear it. Well, actually, you couldn't afford a house back in the 50s and 60s. We had to work. And that's what my fucking parents said, my baby boomer parents. Well, we couldn't afford a house. Our dad had to help us with buy loaves of bread every week because we could barely afford to make bologna sandwiches when we got. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I don't believe these fucking baby boomers for a second. Shut up. You're telling me it wasn't like that in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or even 80s? Where there was no pensions, there was no good healthcare benefits, there was no nice houses you could buy. You couldn't raise a family on one income. Or even the early 2000s. You could still do it in the early 2000s. You could still do it in the early 2000s. You're trying to tell me, especially the boomer generation is trying to tell us that this never existed. That people have always just struggled, that you couldn't afford a family on one income, right? You could never afford a family on one income. That just didn't happen. No pensions, no good healthcare benefits. None of that ever existed. People never had savings. No one ever lived comfortably on just one income, right? And of course, that we're all entitled. The millennials and especially the Gen Z, are now entitled, right? So that's the entire narrative that's trying to be spinned, and has been going on for a while, right? You see, my opinion is the problem isn't the generations are working hard enough. The younger generations are working probably as hard, or if harder, than the millennials are, honestly, in my personal opinion. The problem is the rich elite are trying to rewrite history, and they're trying to gaslight you into believing that these things didn't exist, right? And this is because so they don't have to take responsibility for destroying the present. See, they're trying to gaslight you in the present. They're trying to destroy the present to erase the past, essentially. They're trying to gaslight you into how it really was. They're trying to gaslight you into believing that the America that people once knew in the past, that you can easily just ask one of the baby boomers how it was. The good baby boomers, they'll tell you. The good baby boomers. I'm not talking about the bad baby boomers. I'm talking about the good baby boomers. They'll tell you how it was. There's still, although they may be few, there's still a few good baby boomers that'll tell you how things used to be. Because the thing is, if people start like thinking for themselves, if they wake up and they start asking themselves why the system fell apart to begin with, and who made it fall apart, then we would have a lot more people going apeshit right now. We really would. But I mean, let me be clear on this, right? Our grandma and grandpa bought homes, our grandparents bought homes, right? On one income, they had one income, a pension, they had nice healthcare benefits, they had good wages, right? Our parents raised families, raised us, a lot of us, right, in middle-class neighborhoods without drowning in debt. They had good jobs, they had good incomes, some of them still had pensions. They weren't in survival mode, certainly not like us, how we're always in survival mode, right? So living used to be affordable. I don't want to hear how it used to not be affordable. It used to be affordable. It wasn't perfect. Nothing's perfect, but it was affordable. Living was affordable. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if I see a comment in the comment section. Ooh, yeah, it was. Living was affordable. But this is the reason why they're trying to gaslight us. Because if more and more people wake up and they realize, whoa, the past really was better, because you know what, my boomer parents are saying this, and they said, oh, this, if people start questioning the system and they start asking people, right, decent older boomers, right, if they know how life used to be, right, if they know how life used to be, how America used to be, we would have we would have riots in the streets. Like I said, the only thing keeping people from not rioting in the streets right now is the fact that the media is still present. People are fighting amongst each other. They're being gaslit into told that America was never good enough, or that America was never that way. It was never great. People were never able to do all these things that I just mentioned above. Never able to have pensions, have families on one income, have good Social Security benefits, have health care, and of course they're being distracted by others. They're being distracted by other things, right? Weed, prawn, video games. But this is, if people weren't this distracted, and if people weren't believing the lies of the government, and we weren't so focused on fighting amongst one another. Oh my God, the things that we could do if we weren't so divided. I mean, I call it the divided states of America for a reason, because we are divided, and we're probably always going to be divided, because just people can't just shut the fuck up about sides. People need you to pick a side. All right. People, in my opinion, they have such little going on that they need you to pick a side. Who are you for? The Democrats or the Republicans? Who are you for? Green Bay Packers? Or are you for the fucking Bears? They suck. That's how people are. Like, the people want people to pick sides. People are so dumb, they would rather fight against one another about the left wing of the fucking bird, or the right wing of the fucking bird, instead of fighting about the bird itself, which is the system and the corruption that has been going on in this country for years. All right? So, they are trying to erase the past to protect their future. What do I mean by protect their future? I'll tell you what I mean by protect their future. When I say they're trying to erase the past to protect their future, I mean that they're trying to continue and keep people in the dark, continue gaslighting people, and hoping and praying that people won't catch on to how badly they're being fucked in the ass. All right? Because if enough people find out how badly they're being fucked in the ass, and they're being fucked just hard enough, then it spells disaster for the rich elite. It spells disaster for their lifestyles. It spells disaster for their control and maintaining power. It spells disaster for them in this country, because if there was to be ever, if there ever was in the near future a revolution is the only thing, by the way, that's going to change this. If the elites know if there is a revolution in the future, it's not going to be pretty. And I'm not calling for one, but I'm saying if there was, it'd be blood. It's not going to be pretty. It would be bloody, it'd be violent, but it would be necessary for change. And that's what the elites are afraid of most. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of a revolution. They're afraid of enough people finding out. Once enough people find out, once enough people wake up, once enough people get pissed off enough, it still hasn't happened yet. Somehow it still hasn't happened. I guess the distractions are, and the gaslighting, and the distractions and the gaslighting is still enough. But once it happens, boy, buckle up, be prepared, because it's gonna get messy. It would get messy real quick, real fast. So, thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed my rant. What do you think about this video? Am I right or am I wrong? What do you think? Are they trying to gaslight us? Are they trying to erase the past to protect their future? To protect what they have, to maintain control and power? Let me know what you think of this video. Leave a like if you like it. Put a comment down below. And as always, guys, I'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.